Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to December's episode of that Wolfie Royals podcast. It is episode 12 already, and I cannot believe how quick this year has flown by. I thought it was only right to end on an absolute banger of an episode, but before we get into it, just a few quick things to run through. So obviously October saw the second ever Southwest Constrictors show. Really great show, another successful show, and I think these little shows, these smaller shows popping up all around the UK are absolutely what the hobby needs right now. So if you haven't had tickets and you didn't get tickets to the last event, keep your eyes peeled for the details. Make sure you're at the next one. It'd be really great to see some more support there and more people. So yeah, SWC show, fantastic as always. And of course, on the subject of shows, we had the Balls2U Breeders Club meeting in November, hosted by Gav, obviously at Balls2U. The inaugural event, really, really great show. Some amazing animals, some amazing displays as well. So if you didn't get tickets to that one as well, I highly recommend that you do. Keep your eyes peeled for the next event. I know there's going to be a couple. I think there's going to be maybe 3 a year. So definitely recommend getting down to those as well. And if any of you guys have any animals that you want to send to the United States, there is a shipment coming up as well. So any animals, or specifically Royals, that you need to send over to the US, drop me a message on the Wolfie Royals page, and we can get you some information and some details on those, and hopefully get your animals to the buyers stateside for you. So without further ado, let's get into December's episode.
Hi, this is Chris from Project Pied, founder member of the SWC group. The other members of the group are Max from CMT Royals, Darren from DJ Constrictors, Ryan from RockyRidge Reptiles, and last but not least, Ross from Armour Key Reptiles. We founded the Southwest Constrictors group to provide a relaxed and friendly reptile show for both new and experienced breeders alike. We had some of the finest breeders in the UK attend our inaugural show back in October. Importantly, the show is brought to you by the breeders for the breeders. So why don't you come along to the next show and see for yourself. For all our updates, join and follow the Southwest Constrictors page on Facebook. We've decided to sponsor that Wolfie Royals podcast because we feel that the UK deserves a podcast like this.
I'm joined here by RockyRidge Reptiles. So thanks for coming on, guys. Just give us a quick introduction and let everyone know who you are and what you're doing.
We're RockyRidge Reptiles. I'm Noah.
I'm Ben. So we're a father and son dynamic duo.
Like Batman and Robin.
Batman, yeah, I think so. Yeah, something like that. I think definitely. Yeah, so we've got ball pythons and all sorts of other lizards and geckos and snakes, and we've been collecting for about 3 years now with everything. Yeah. And on the ball python side, we're about 2 years in now, aren't we? Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah. About 2 years in now. So second year of breeding. This will be.
Okay. Cool.
So last year we had two breeder females. We managed one clutch and
got some normals.
Yeah, 12 eggs and 13 babies, didn't we?
Yeah, we got one pair of twins.
Yeah. Twins in your first clutch.
First clutch, and one was a paradox. So we hit the ultimate thing first time round. So we should have given up at that point. But,
I've never hit twins.
Say that again.
I've never hit twins. Never had them.
They were tiny twins, so they didn't. In the end, they didn't make it, unfortunately. But yeah, we had a clutch of 12 and 13 eggs. So
fantastic.
Banana spiders.
Yeah.
Those.
So it was a banana and a spider we bred two. The banana was the male and the spider was the female, and we got a couple of banana spiders and some normals and some normal spiders. And do you know what? I and Noah, we both really like the spider gene anyway. I know that's a bit marmitey in the whole thing, but we like the patternation that they give. And she's probably one of the best feeders that we've got. And the babies were as well. They were just on it straight off the bat. So they were a good starter. No. So they were a good starter for us as hatchlings go, because they really did everything themselves. We didn't have to worry about, there was no assist feeding. They were just straight off the bat.
I've always found spiders are pretty solid feeders.
Yeah. So we kept one of those, one of the banana spiders, and then we gave one of the baby bananas to Noah's teacher because she loves it as well. So she's got a couple.
That's cool.
And then we got rid of the rest of them, and then we so that was our first year basically.
This year's our second year.
Yeah.
We got how many parents?
Seven females this year. So we rocketed up. So we've got 7 breeder females. They're all single gene females, and then but we've got males going in as well to see what we get.
Sure.
But this was our second year. We just wanted to try it once again. It's still a learning curve. It's a good learning curve. It's good fun. So we're not really under any pressure about what comes out and what results you get. Yeah, it's all about Noah learning basically. So this is all for him. And as we go down the line, as we get more and more, we just want to continue with it. So and I know everybody likes double het stuff and multiple het stuff, and we do as well. We've got a lot of females and males that we're growing on for the next few years, and we'll be there with everybody else. But for this while, we just did it for. We've got a pair of pieds that we've male and a female, so we'll get all visuals, and that's going to be really cool because that's really why we started ball pythons, because we saw a pied. Well, Noah did.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and breed around. We picked up. What we generally do is Noah goes on the visual side of it. So he likes to see. He likes the patternation of the snakes, and so then we get that, and then we match whatever we've got with a partner snake, and then we either bring them on, or we buy a size that we can breed them if we need to.
Okay. So where did the dynamic start for you guys? Was it something that was Noah was interested in first that you then took an interest in, or was it?
Well, I went to one of my mates' party a few years ago. He never had reptiles, but he was always interested in them. So I went round there and I first held a crested gecko.
Yeah.
So I went home and I said, I really like that, Dad. So that was about 3 weeks before my birthday. That birthday, I got a crested gecko, and then we went from that. And then we got a leopard gecko. We
rescued a couple of bearded dragons, and I use Noah as an excuse that he loves it, but I'm a massive geek when it comes to anything reptiles. So I used him. But actually, it benefits both of us. So
you're just a massive enabler.
I love it. Yeah. I can blame him and get away from and get out of trouble from the wife. So which works perfectly for us. So
get out of jail free card. That
but
one.
Yeah, the ball python thing. We always said that we wouldn't get snakes. And
so I first held a banana.
Banana, yes. So
we both just instantly fell in love with it.
Yeah. So we got the banana, and he was in a little viv. And I struggled to feed him, and then we picked up we got a wild rack, and then we moved him over, and that kind of transformed how we looked after him. It was so much easier with the shedding and the feeding.
They never shed very well in the cages.
No, we struggled a bit, and then obviously once we got the rack and everything was running fine, and we then got the pied male that we've got. And then it was just we've got space, we can get another one, and then another one, and then I picked up a JVK rack, and obviously there was 30 tubs in that, and we were like, right, we can basically go for gold now. So, and somebody showed me a way the wild rack that you can split the tubs in 3 for babies, so that was even better. So I can get more in a rack, and we've ended up in 2 years we've got 44 ball pythons now. So
it's not bad for someone who didn't want snakes.
Yeah. So we're doing all right now. We've got Californian king snakes, sand boas, and reticulated python as well. So, considering I didn't want any, we've gone completely over.
Going through the species list quite quick then.
Yeah, we're basically going through the species list.
So, what's on the agenda for you guys in terms of projects? What are you working towards? What is it that you want to? What's the end goal for you in terms of animals or genes that you're working with?
I really like the calico stuff. So sugar, I love sugar enchi. I've got a sugar enchi male that I think he's just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, apart from Noah. But Oh, and my daughter, better say it. But that I really like that. So we're putting. So we've got. He's going with a calico female this year, and then Noah likes the champagne stuff.
I like the
ivories.
Yeah, I like the ivories.
Okay.
And tries.
And then also we've got like single gene orange dreams. So I've got male and female. So we're going to chuck them together and see where we go, because we picked up a snake from Scott Wilkinson a long time ago. We was probably about 4 or 5 into the snakes, and he had some amazing. And you know, at that point, I think going to see him.
That's what
was just
pretty much interests us in all of it.
Yes.
See what you can basically produce.
Yeah,
was awesome.
It was an eye opener with regards to what you can actually produce if you put the time in. And obviously, I know everybody wants to do it straight away, but seeing some of his stuff was just brilliant. And Paul at Urban Constrictors, the stuff that he's got in there, it is just amazing. And you see it, and it's just that, and it would be nice to produce that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Did you get to do like the full tour at Scott's? Did you have a look around everything there?
No, we just saw we just walked into a room and it was just all the hatchlings. And that was enough for us. It was like a kid in a candy shop. So, it was amazing. So that just seeing that sort of stuff, that's really what really started it off, was him, and he was really super. Everybody in the hobby is super friendly.
Yeah,
they're so helpful, and it was just nice to be in that sort of environment where you actually go, yeah, I really want to produce that, and actually I'm not going to buy that. We're going to produce it, and we bought the 2 snakes to be able to produce stuff, and that's the bit I like doing, is buying one snake and then finding another that suits it. And then at some point, 2 or 3 years down the line, we'll be able to hopefully to produce those sort of snakes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like you said, it's all a learning curve where you start and what you do with it, and what you're doing is right. Yeah, make some stuff that you find visually appealing. See what see what it is that sort of floats your boat and takes your interest and takes your fancy more than others. And like I say, have fun along the way and do it and enjoy it together. Yeah,
we certainly do that. I mean, everybody that we've met. I mean, Noah's, he's really good on the morphs. I mean, he's talking to. We went down to South Coast Serpents a couple of weeks ago, and he's talking about stuff that I've never heard of, and he's talking with Luke about it. And I don't, because he knows the morphs, and he knows what's what, and I like that. I just let him get on with it, and we ended up walking out with 2 of the ones that he was talking about. So it works really well.
Perfect. Yeah. So, best things about the hobby for you. What is it that you enjoy most? You can pick one each.
Spending time together. For me, it's having the same interest as Noah. So we spend our time together. What about you?
Yeah, I like spend time with my dad, and also I like meeting new people, like as in you, and people like Scott Wilson, and
Paul.
Yeah. So
everyone is very welcoming. Yeah, there's no one's certainly in the time that I've been around, no one's ever turned me away and no, you can't go and do this and can't have a look at this and whatever. And it's great that everyone's in it together, everyone's doing the same thing. There is always going to be little bits that you don't, people you don't get on with or people you don't see eye to eye with, but
it's life, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't like everyone, you don't need to, but just get on with it, just be adult, be civil about it, and just carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's wholly insignificant. We're breeding snakes. It means nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. I work with Ben from Ben's Balls as well. So,
okay.
So I've got it 24/7. So I go to work and we talk about it, and then obviously at home, and it's a nice place to be. Everybody's they're on the same path, aren't they? It doesn't matter where you are with regards to it. We're all trying to do something that everybody else is doing.
Yeah, 100%.
So you might be 2 years ahead or 2 years behind, but we're all going to get to the same point. We're all breeding ball pythons because we love it.
Yeah,
and it's a good place to be.
Definitely. No, like you say, it's a good place to be. Everyone needs working towards the same thing, regardless of where you are on that journey. The end goal is still the same. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you've been in it for 10 years, 15 years, whatever, 2 weeks. The end goal is still producing healthy quality animals that you like the look of and people want to hopefully get involved with.
You know, you like the super cinnamon stuff, don't you?
Yeah,
So
I like the dark.
the real dark stuff, the
Yeah.
8 balls and the. And I really want a scaleless. Now that's really controversial. But I think they're amazing. And it doesn't matter whether you're one way or the other. It's personal choice.
Yeah.
And
I think they look incredible.
Super cool.
I think they look incredible. Would I have one? Probably not, just because I don't think I've got the time to invest in its additional care and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, as animals, and I think they some of the mutations that they've got out there and the combos they've made with them now. I think
all of a sudden, though, haven't they? Really quickly, they've definitely this year. I noticed, because obviously we've looked at them and we've always talked about them, but they are multi-genes now, aren't they? And
there are multi-genes coming out. I think the only thing that lets them down is the whole negativity or the whole issue surrounding female fertility, isn't it? Whether or not they can actually lay eggs. Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure why everybody's so quiet about it. I can't quite get my head around it, but there is obviously a reason that that's the case. So
yeah,
it's a bit like spider, isn't it, as well? So the gene, and you either like it or you don't. And if you've got an opinion, try and keep it to yourself, I suppose. And that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Just because someone's got a different opinion, it doesn't mean it's the wrong one or anything. It's like you say, matter of opinion. Yeah, everyone's got one. It may be aligned with yours. It may not. Just carry on and get on with it.
Yeah.
So, what does the future hold for you? What do you want to do in the hobby? Where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years' time?
I would like to start, producing more the clown sort of ways. I know a lot of people are doing that, but I personally really like clown and GHI. So I'd like to go down that more. Like clown and the GHI Mojave.
So you want to move into more recessive projects and sort of work some codoms in there.
Yeah, whereas I'm sticking with calico.
It works though, doesn't it? Yeah, if you can pick a morph, it worked absolutely phenomenally for Aussie. So take Orange June and run with it.
So it's good. So they're not mental money either, which is good for me. So it's a good way of being. But I think for me, I want to be able to make sure that if we're doing it and we're breeding animals, it's paying for itself.
Yeah. And
2, potentially it's paying for Noah to, when he gets older, if he wants to go to college or he wants to buy, if we can get it that far, that we're doing that, then that's my end game, is that it gives Noah an income.
Yeah.
And helps him out on the road that he wants to take. He knows that he wants to work with animals. He knows already that he wants to go to uni and do herpetology and zoology and stuff like that, and if the snakes pays for that, then all of this is just a bonus for me as his dad. And obviously, if he's making a couple of quid out of it, he doesn't have to go and work in a pub of an evening.
Yeah, I think it teaches you responsibility as well, doesn't it? Like you say, you can go work in a pub and you can earn money, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. But you also, you're going to learn a bit of responsibility and
totally, yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
What's the one thing that you could change in the hobby that you think would better the hobby?
Blimey. Make everything a lot cheaper. I don't know, actually. I couldn't think of one thing. There isn't really any negatives for me, apart from the shows being so far up north. If that would be
I'd like
nice
some
to do more.
Certainly like some further south.
Is to get people understanding that, like, when we put snakes in racks, and it's not because we're being cruel and we want hundreds of them. It's because actually they do fare better in a rack than they do in a viv. I think I personally find from experience.
Yeah,
there's probably people out there that tell me that I'm talking rubbish, but for me, that people understanding that what we're doing isn't cruel, because that is a big thing. When you must know when you get people that aren't in the hobby come in and go, oh my God, what have you got in there?
Yeah.
And it's always a negative reaction.
Oh, 100%.
And that's quite, I find that quite sad, especially for Noah. I worry that I don't want any negatives for him because he's little, he's young. I'd shelter that. But yeah, that would be quite nice to for the hobby to be a little bit more open, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be a positive.
I want to change. There's not a lot of them. the people that goes, "You're not doing that right."
Yeah.
Like that. And like you just said.
Yeah, there's a lot of naysayers. There's a hell of a lot of people, even within the hobby, that like we were saying earlier, they've got an opinion that's different to yours, and they feel they have to voice it and they need to voice it, which it just doesn't need to happen.
No,
it really doesn't need to happen all the time. Just let people get on with it if they're enjoying it.
I do worry that the negativity will overshadow it, and it casts a light onto all of the the way that we keep animals.
Yeah.
And they've got a bigger voice than we have. So the animal rights, but the anti-animal rights people, like the Doncaster show, a small minority affected through not having the correct information. I get it that if you see a box on a table and you don't have any other, a photo, never judge a book by its cover, and a photo can look misleading, but it's because they just don't understand.
But yeah, I mean, Doncaster being closed down was almost absolutely nothing to do with animal welfare. It was all to do with financial repercussions of animal rights activists wanting to make them breeders, businesses and things like that. So Doncaster Council were more than happy with animal welfare standards being met and everything being above board in terms of what should have happened. The reason it got shut down was because of illegal trading, or so-called illegal trading.
And that's what I worry with Noah, that I don't want him to get dragged into that sort of side of it, because it from us, we know that we look after the animals well. As a breeder and that you look after your animals well, and it's the ignorant people that are out there and unfortunately that's life. I understand that, but that side of it, I'd like to. That's probably the only negative.
Yeah,
but that's not in the industry. That's
life in general, people. Isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it is a weird one. It's in every aspect of life and every hobby. I'm sure there's always going to be those naysayers. There's always going to be people that fuel off of putting someone else down or voicing their opinion louder than someone else's, whether it's right, wrong, indifferent, whatever. And that is just how people are in life, unfortunately.
Definitely.
So on the positive side of things, who are your sort of main inspirations in the hobby?
Well, obviously you.
Far too kind.
To start with, for me, it was Paul from Urban Constrictors. And Scott Wilkinson, just going to see him, and then online we were watching Brian, like everybody does.
Yeah.
And then Dave Kaufman, we've always watched him.
Yeah.
So that side of it, and Noah.
Yeah. What really got or to me, Brian Barczyk, really.
I think most people started with Brian. I started watching Brian. That's how I got into it mainly.
He's really good, isn't he? I mean, he engages everybody.
There was nothing else really out there at the time either. Not in the sort of the format that he was doing it in.
Mm.
There might have been other YouTube videos, but certainly nothing that was daily vlog, weekly vlogs, or anything as sort of captivating and as interesting as it was for anything else back then.
And Noah, with all the animals that he's got, the other reptiles, the Brian bit with him having the zoo, and we've got the zoo here as well. So he has his own one, and he does all of he looks after all of the lizards on his. Every morning he's up, he's spraying them, he's feeding them. So and that was because of watching online stuff and seeing how they are with it. So it's a really good influence.
Oh no, 100%. I mean, I quite like Brian's videos. He gets a lot of hate and stuff for things he's done over the years, but truth is, without him, there would probably be a hell of a lot less people in the hobby.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely, 100%. You agree with that?
Yeah.
He's like, 100%, definitely.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you guys? What's on the agenda? What's happening this season?
So, phone call to JVK to order a couple more rats, I think, and then basically we want to we'd like to get as many eggs this year. I know that bit for me, is really cool, and you like the egg bit, don't you?
Yeah, I like the egg cutting.
Yeah, cutting eggs is just like the first time you do that. That's pretty cool. And then just continue having fun with it, and Noah looking like he sends me stuff, and it's always you know, it's the visual side of it. Like I said earlier, for Noah, it's the visual side, and seeing really cool snakes, meeting lots of people, and just carrying on where we are. I think I thought about a number that I'd like to stop at, and actually, it'd probably be
that number always changes.
Yeah, exactly.
I did say when we put on, we're still about 25, yet we're like
nearly double that already.
We're 44 in, and you know, we're still looking every day. We're looking for stuff, and we've got to build a room. We're going to build a room outside, and more, and actually just have fun with it and see where we go. And if we don't produce any one year, you know, or something happens, and it's not a drama. We just carry on, and it's all about having fun.
100% there. If you could each add a gene into the collection to work with, what would it be?
Batman. I like Batman. That's quite cool.
You like Batman stuff?
Yeah.
So the leopard spot nose clown stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the blackhead stuff. So although we've got one, I definitely want more of that just to see it. And yeah, that blackhead for me.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I don't have a huge amount of blackhead. I think I've got 1 or 2 animals, actually, to be fair. I bought a super blackhead male that's growing up and getting some size on, so try and get some blackhead in some combos and some different genes that way. Add some different morphs that way.
Spot nose would be good.
I love spot nose. Probably my favourite gene.
We haven't got any of that, actually. We've pretty much we've got we've not got that work. And then for Noah, Scowler's, Scowler's head.
Yeah.
Scowler's head as a gene itself is, it does offer a lot of influence. There's a lot brighter and a lot cleaner on the Scowler's head animals.
Yeah. Even
just using it as a het and not even shooting for the sort of the super scalers from it. I think as a het influence, the Scowler's head is really, really obvious. There's still a lot to be done.
It's interesting to see what the spot nose is doing as well. That's really cool. It's adding some really cool stuff into it.
I think spot nose for me is probably the number one gene. I love it. I absolutely love what it does in clown. It doesn't work too much in pied, but in other combinations, absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. Certainly one that I need to work more with.
That would be definitely on next year's on shopping list. We'll definitely get something at some point.
Yeah, I realised I had quite a lot of spot nose, but I only had it in sort of one project, so I didn't really have it too much in my clown stuff. Only in sort of double het animals or desert ghost animals. So I was trying to work it into my clown a bit more. So that's probably what I'm going to be adding this season is a little bit more spot nose clown I've added some spot nose het clown male combos and things. So hopefully I'll try and get some spot nose stuff in the future.
Yeah, and we're quite heavy on the Enchi, so which I mean it's not a bad thing. It's brilliant. It's lovely.
I think it just like cleans.
Makes it. Up.
I hatched loads of Enchi this season. Absolutely loads of it. Almost everything clown I did was Enchi, pastel Enchi clown. I think it was Enchi. I think there was Enchi in every clown combo that I hit this season. And that wasn't through trying. I wasn't doing anything crazy with it. It was just the way the cookie crumbled.
Yeah, I was going through to come on, to speak to you. I was going through the list of all what we've got, and when you suddenly realise that you go blind with that, you forget, when you go and buy something, if it's het or whatever, and then you go, we've got a lot of that, and we've got a lot of that, and so over the next couple of years, as all of ours start coming up and being bigger. We're gonna have some cool combinations hopefully, and just just keep going with it, and then just seeing where after 3 years and getting a female to breeding weight or 3 or however long it takes, it's a whole process, isn't it? And
from start to finish.
You get the eggs and you get the hatchlings from something that and then eventually getting females that you've hatched out that you're then breeding. That's what we're looking forward to. I am, and I know Noah is as well. So
I've not long done that. That was only this season or last season that I hatched. Hatched animals. Hatched animals produce hatchlings and then have those go on to lay for you. It is really rewarding, and it's a lot cheaper than keep buying females as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about charging people. So if anybody wants to come around and see the zoo over here, we do discounts for Wolfie Royal podcast subscribers. So you're more than welcome to come around and see all the lizards that we've got, you're more than you know.
Right, I'm going to start wrapping this up anyway. So, where can people find you on social media? It's now your chance to plug yourself.
So we are on Instagram, RockyRidge Reptiles, and on Facebook, but predominantly on RockyRidge Reptiles on Instagram.
Cool. And are you on Morph Market at all?
Yeah, we've got Morph Market, but we haven't sold anything on there yet. We're just on there. That'll be loaded next year with all of our clutches that we're going to get.
And is there a YouTube channel coming?
There is, yes.
Probably.
There will be. So Noah's going to start doing some. We're going to try just aim it at kids his age, so that he can engage with them. Because I did find when we first started, there wasn't anything for Noah's age to try and understand morphs and genes and stuff like that. Dominant, it was difficult. So I had to learn it and then explain it to Noah. Although he's better than I am now, but so he'll start the YouTube. Cool.
Look forward to it. So, RockyRidge Reptiles on Instagram mainly. Go check it out. Yes. Drop a follow. Keep your eyes peeled for the YouTube channel. Other than that, not much to say apart from thank you very much for coming on. And
thank you very much.
We'll speak to you again soon.
Definitely. Take care. Have a good Christmas.
You too.
Hi, I'm Darren from Wild Racks and you're listening to That Wolfie Royals podcast. If you're in the UK and looking for affordable custom enclosures, check out Wild Racks on Instagram and Facebook. Back to the podcast.
So, as you heard there, guys, RockyRidge Reptiles, go give them a follow on social media. Keep your eye out for the YouTube coming through. Great to see another sort of father and son breeding duo going as well. Definitely need more and more youngsters in the hobby to keep the young blood coming through. And they're the future of the hobby. So great to see what's going on with those guys. Go over and give them support and see what they've got going on in the future. So without further ado, let's get into the main episode. Now, this is a guest that has been requested several times over on Instagram. And it is one that has always been in the pipeline. But for obvious reasons, or for reasons obvious to me, what I didn't want to do was go and get the same guests that every other YouTube interview or every other podcast interview goes and gets. So I wanted to bring you a little bit of something different first, and then we'll get into the bones and get into the meat with some of the bigger names as well. So it was a great to sit down with Gav, spend a bit of time at the Balls2U facility and, spend a bit of time with Gav as well, because we've spoken to each other in passing and online, but it was actually really good to sit down, spend time, chat, have a look around and things. So let's get into the episode. This is Gav from Balls2U. So here we are at the HQ with Gav from Balls2U. Thanks for coming on, Gav.
Thanks for having me on, Tom. It's good to see you.
You as well, mate. So if you've heard it before, a little introduction, a little summary as to who, what, when, where, why, sort of how you got into reptiles and more specifically ball pythons.
Cool. So I think it's like everyone else. As a kid, you sort of see dinosaurs and stuff like that. You see these lizards, and then you see people like David Attenborough going around, and Steve Irwin, and the usual suspects. Mike O'Shea was another one. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Yeah, Mike O'Shea. And just seeing a lot of people like that just messing with these really exotic animals, and I was just like blown away with it. And then I think it was 13. From the age of 13, I pestered my mum for a corn snake. Had it 2 days, it escaped. I just didn't tell my mom for, I think, about 2 weeks. Never saw it again. And then I got it from my friend's dad at the time. He was a breeder, and he had, vivariums, and he had a brick building. It was the first time I'd been in a snake breeding facility, let's say. And then I was like, wow, this is really cool. So for me, that was that. Then back into, I had a few other snakes here and there, as you do through little fads, boas, some king snakes and stuff. And then I was fixing my mate's car, and he worked in a reptile shop, and he said, I said, oh, I wouldn't mind having another snake. He said, well, I'll pay you in snakes if you want. So I worked on his car, and he paid me in snakes, which were ball pythons at the time, normals, and I've still got her. She's my first one in there. So that was 2002, 2003. And then I remember opening a book. I'm not sure if it was a reptile care book or a ball python care book. And I remember seeing a picture of a bumblebee in there, and it just said in there, produced by Nerd. And I was like, who the hell a Nerd? Like, what's this? Obviously, back in them days, YouTube wasn't around, so that was 2004, 2003, 2004 when I saw that. So then I did a bit of digging, and then I found all these forums that were predominantly mainly in the US.
Okay.
And then that just opened a massive can of worms where it was just like, holy crap. This is...
That's where it starts snowballing from.
Oh, 100%. And I was just like... And that, for me, like I said, the bumblebee really kicked it off for me. And they just blew my mind. And then, obviously... I mean, you've seen, like, albino berms on TV and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But I didn't realise that this little ball python that I'd got at the time was the way forward. So then, as you can imagine, I started working on my mate's car quite a lot.
You got a lot of problems now.
Oh yeah, you need to get that fixed. It's going to cost you another ball python. Hoping I'd come across some bits and pieces, and over the years, being on the forums, watching stuff, seeing stuff, picking up stuff that was relatively cheap because they were problem feeders. Because they were on multis or ASFs at the time. And I had a supply of them. I was breeding myself, so I picked up a lot of morphs back in the day, starting off like that. I mean, pastels were still $2,000, Mojaves were still $3,000. So I was picking them up really cheap, considering just because they were on multis, and no one was breeding multis at the time or feeding multis because it was known as problem feeders if they were on. So that's kind of where it started with me.
So what sort of year was that when you started increasing the numbers and working into towards where you are now?
So from 2008 was when I had my first clutch. It was purely by accident. And then after that, I then realised, actually, I want to be a breeder. Because at that point, I was a keeper. I was interested in seeing what other people were doing. I was watching a lot of the stuff that the breeders were doing, and obviously not realising that there is no way. I thought, there's no way I can afford that stuff. It's all in the US. I didn't really see or know to anything in the UK because a lot of people in the UK kept a lot of things quiet or under wraps. And I found a few forums in the UK, which was RF UK, obviously, and Scott's one, which was
Captive
Bred. So it was. Then that opened up another door. So around about 2008 was when I classed myself as a breeder rather than a keeper. Balls2U started up around about 2013, 2014 when I was approaching. I then decided, I got a pastel that was sold to me as a normal. I then hunted down a spider because I wanted to do the bumblebee. I then reached out to breeders, sent emails out, and again, in between 2008 and 2014, let's say, watching YouTube stuff, Brian Barczyk, people like that. Ralph Davis was posting a lot of videos as well.
The journal as well, wasn't it, back then?
Yeah. And I remember reaching out to a lot of breeders, and the response was very much, no, we don't want to help you. So I remember sitting there going, Balls2U, mate. And I thought, hang on a minute. That's quite tongue-in-cheek. Being an English kind of guy, Englishman, we use the term, stick two fingers up, Balls2U, mate. And that's kind of where it come from. And I thought, you know what? It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek sort of a name where it turned around because I wanted to help people. Because I was much like that in the motor trade. I'd help anyone within the workshop. If they were struggling, I'd go over and help them. So for me, I was kind of like, right, I want to help people. So the whole Balls2U scenario, there was a lot of breeders, like I said, I reached out to. They just was interested in selling me snakes. They wasn't interested in helping me progress. So that's the timeline where we're at, sort of a thing.
So in between that sort of gap, between that sort of 2008 and 2013, when you started the Balls2U, movement sort of thing, who were like the influences and the positive influences that did reach out to you and lend you a hand along the way?
One of them, Ralph Davis, used to email me. He used to respond back to all my emails, and back then, Ralph Davis was the king. And for the king to reach back to me was just mind-bending. So for me, it was really encouraging, very inspiring. There was one other breeder that reached back out to me, which was Mark Mendek, and Ozzy as well. The other people that I was sent emails to either never responded, or the response was, unfortunately, we're in the market to sell animals, not give you information. And it wasn't like I was after, can you tell me your secret ingredients? It was kind of like, can you just tell me a bit of, what temperatures do you run? What substrate do you use? What enclosures? Because when I first started keeping ball pythons, I had mine in a glass tank.
Yeah. Then
it went to a vivarium, and they were always not the greatest feeders. They were drop feeders, so you put them on top of the hide. For me, it was just general information, I was looking for, and got some very negative responses. And here's the thing, Tom, when I reached out to the same people when they didn't respond back, and I said, by the way, I am also interested in a snake, they then emailed me back straight away. He was like, oh, sorry, Mr. Email. So we've got these snakes available. And I'm like, okay, that seems a bit, now all of a sudden I've said I'm interested in a $2,000, $3,000 snake. And you want to reach out.
Changes.
Yeah. So that's where the Balls2U came about. And my whole ethos was trying to help as many people or give people my information as opposed to holding it back for myself.
So how long after starting the Balls2U did you then go into YouTube and things like that? Was that always something you had your mind to go into, or was it something that just happened on the natural progressive path?
Yeah, it was purely accidental. I remember filming and just tracking. I just wanted to do it as a journal, track my progression, so then I could look back. And then I remember taking my stepdaughter to school, and I just hit 100 subscribers, and it just blew my mind. I was like, wow, I've got 100 subscribers, look at me. I thought I was like, the Casey Knight stat of breeding ball python. I was like, wow, 100 subscribers. Because I wasn't after subscribers. I still don't really, it's nice to have subscribers, but it's not something I chase. If I can just help one person from one of my videos, that's all that it means to me. So the YouTube was a pure accident thing, but it kind of, it has helped me along the way. But you don't, I've said this to a lot of people over the years, you don't need YouTube. You don't need that outlet. You've just got to find something that works for you, because not a lot of people can do YouTube. And I get it. You've just got to find the right outlet for you and just concentrate on that. And it doesn't have to be YouTube. Like, you've got your podcast, it works really well for you. You're very successful with it. That's your outlet. Mine at the time was the YouTube. Things have changed a bit over the years with YouTube. Things have slowed down. A lot of people jumped on the YouTube thing, was taking a lot of my content and pretending it to be their own. And you could specifically say that because the people who were using my content and my data, I knew them from RS UK days and captive bred, and they weren't who they were. And when you go back and you log back in and you look at all the old messages, you can actually see that these people who say they were or they are these people, you can see they didn't have the information, and then they've either commented on one of my videos and then they've taken that. So that kind of was a bit of a stick in the mud, because then I realised, for as much as I want to help people, I don't mind helping people, but at least just give me a little bit of, oh, by the way, I saw this on Gav's video and I've tried it and it works.
Yeah.
Instead of that, it was more like, this is what I do and this is how I do it. I was like, wow, it's a bit of a kick in the balls, to say the least.
Yeah, a little bit of appreciation or something goes a long way.
Yeah, I'm not after, I'm very much a fair person. Like I said, you know, they don't have to keep, but it was just, and I just saw it repetitively on different people's channels, and I was like, and it was just the terminology and how they were doing things that when you look back, and because I was quite hung up on it, I was like, hang on a minute, that's not your idea because you asked me about it. There's the messages. And all of a sudden you're saying it's your idea, now you doing it. And 6 months ago you asked me how I incubate eggs, and I've told you, and all of a sudden now it's your way of incubating eggs. So stuff like that. And so it kind of slowed down a little bit for me. I lost a little bit of heart in it. But then I also realised that the stuff that we put out on YouTube that maybe can be used against us animal rights people. Yeah. So I needed to figure out a way of how I can help the community and educate the community in a closed environment, and hence why my Patreon was born. I was not a fan of it in the beginning, but then when I realised what I could actually do to help people, like one of the Patreon members had a female that was egg bound and brought it to me because they didn't know. I gave them some stuff what to do in the short term. 2 weeks later, still hadn't passed them. But what I was able to do was document all that video footage and put it in a nice little package. It was probably about 40 minutes long, in-depth details on how I basically unblocked this female, and all the insides were twisted without having a detrimental effect on the female. So that sort of thing was really, really good. It's like Kevin at Nerd when he does his surgical operations and stuff on his snakes, and I kind of get that because, you know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, there's probably not a vet on call, and a lot of vets' answers probably are too invasive. So if you take a female to the vets with its egg bound, the first thing they're going to do is, we're going to have to operate. Pretty much that's the standard procedure. That's all they know. Where if you can do a non-invasive method and get the eggs out without hurting the female, without causing that stress, without putting her under anesthesia and, you know, cutting her open, surely that's a better alternative. So that's where then a lot of my content with that sort of thing then was geared up for, and going on the Patreon side of things to help people, because breeders then, like, breeders will understand what's involved, whereas someone, a member of public, watching that video,
open to everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So a member of public watching that, going, "Oh my god!" Even now, egg cutting, people, "Oh my god, you've cut the egg and it's bleeding," and da da da. Yeah, but we know as breeders that's not detrimental to the snake. You know, we've nipped a vein.
Well, yeah, within reason, it's
I've never had an issue where, you know, obviously sensible, you know, cutting them at the right time, all that sort of stuff. But again, you've got to know your equipment, you've got to know your incubator, you know, when they normally pip, you know, and again, we have a guideline, but as you become more established in your breeding journey, you can actually know, well, actually I can cut a little bit day early because I'm going on holiday tomorrow, and I'd rather give them the chance of hatching than not, because I have had animals that I haven't cut and they have died in the egg. So now I'm responsible for that animal. So long and short of it is, I suppose we've gone off the topic, but that's the journey I've taken now. Sure. I do some stuff still for YouTube and post some stuff on YouTube, but I try to think a bit more of, you know, how's it going to look from the outside looking in. That's why I won't post any feeding pictures, anything like that, constriction pictures of a rodent, because we all know what it's about, you know. So that I'm more aware now of, I need to help people in the right who want the help, as opposed to just putting it out there for anyone to watch and use that information against me or us. Yeah. So that's why, like I said, things have moved and changed slightly and stuff.
You touched on it there with Patreon, and something that me and Scott were talking about on the way down. When Patreon was sort of first launched, I think you was probably one of the first people in the UK to do it. You were quite outspoken against the Patreon and the things for it. What was the turning point where you went, actually, this is something that could be used for good and is probably the right way to be going about things?
How it came about was when Patreon was launched, and sorry, not Patreon was launched as such, but when a few people put videos out about becoming Patreon, setting up a Patreon, a lot of it was based around money, the money factor. I'm not opposed to money. Money is a byproduct of what we do, and we have to be comfortable with exchanging money, let's say. Because let's face it doesn't go on the Ferrari on the drive, it goes back into snakes. So you're going to buy a snake off me, I'm going to go and buy another snake. So it's kind of like, it's that byproduct, if you like. So for me, it was when I saw people going, oh, you know, it's this much and that much and da-da-da. And I was like, but... And I was dead set against it because of how it was put across. Now, I never went out there and slandered people for it. I never went out there and bashed people on Facebook for having a Patreon. Yeah. I just couldn't understand the mentality of why you would want to do that.
Yep.
And then when he then come back, some of my mates were saying, Gav, you should do a Patreon. And I said, it's not for me. And then they said, yeah, but you could put content out and help people that really need help. And because at the time I hadn't stopped, but I'd really slowed down doing the videos for YouTube. And it was really getting to me because I was like, I want to put content out. I've got loads of content.
But no outlet for it.
Well, it was more so I didn't want it to get in the wrong hands, Tom. So I was really worried about that. And then when the lads said about doing a Patreon, it kind of clicked and I went, that's the perfect platform for me to do these in-depth videos and talk to breeders on a level that know what they're doing. So I'm not out there almost doing like a video where it could go horribly wrong for someone if they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So that's how it became. And I also was aware that the other side of the coin was Facebook. When, in the forum days, it was fantastic. And then Keyboard Warriors started kicking in. A lot of the good breeders then went to Facebook. And then I never went to Facebook. I then went to Instagram. So then Facebook became a place of like almost like lynch mob mentality.
Oh, it still is.
Yeah, it is. I use the word Facebook rather than Facebook. However, there seems to be a lot of lynch mob mentality and ripping people apart, very negative and almost like an attack, to the point where people were scared to ask questions. And we're going back to the same old thing where I'm only asking you, what temperatures do you keep your animals at? And yet all of a sudden you're slating me. Oh, you shouldn't be a keeper. You don't know. Well, unless I ask, how do I know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of that attitude that really sort of then, and I went, right, the minute you click on my Patreon, it says Balls2U is trying to build a trusted community. Not only a trusted community where people can go and ask questions, people can network between each other. Oh, you know, Tom's into this, Scott's into that. Oh, great. Oh, guys, linking with each other, connect, you know. And if you've got a question or someone else has got a question, say someone new in the hobby and they want to ask a specific question, there's plenty of breeders on different levels, different years, different whatever, working in different projects can come in and answer the question without a fear of that person going, oh, I know it's a stupid question, but you know, there's no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't know,
if you don't know the answer, you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of times on Facebook, the old age answer is you should do your research before getting these animals, and it's like, well, social media is now basically a research platform.
Yeah,
you're trying to speak to people that have the experience, have got the knowledge and the years behind it, got the skin in the game to actually give you those answers. But because, like you said there, of the attack and the sort of lynch mob mentality, that doesn't get across. So Patreon for you is now sort of the main platform that you use to help.
I kind of so with Patreon we set up a Discord, and the Discord is almost like a forum cross with an Instagram and Facebook, and Vero is probably the way to describe Discord. Discord was predominantly used within the gaming community. It has been used for years. I didn't realise how much of a great platform it is for us. So for me, the Patreon is all about making people aware of new content dropping, what we're doing, special offers, like if we're launching, I don't know, a new bedding, for example. Anything like that, we can use that platform to reach out to the right people who want to know, who really want to progress further. The Discord, again, was that and like a bolt-on type thing where we had our own little community where people can just go on, ask questions about rodent husbandry, breeding rodents, you know, issues with maternal incubation, should we do maternal incubation, all that sort of stuff, all in one place. So for me, Patreon is is kind of like the gateway into the community that, again, I wanted to build, which was a trusted community that anyone could come in, you know, ask the right questions, get the help they need, and just be treated like human beings.
What sort of backlash did you get for starting the Patreon up?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not that I saw. Nothing that I saw. I had one or two people ask me, why do you think the Patreon's the way forward? I can't remember really seeing anything, Tom, anything crazy. I tend to get a lot of screenshots about myself on people lashing me down on Facebook and stuff like that. But I get a lot of screenshots about other people as well. Like the negative side, like, oh, so-and-so slagging off so-and-so behind their back on a WhatsApp group and all that. And, you know, or so-and-so said this about you. You kind of get it, but I don't think I remember seeing anything really. It was just the odd question, you know, why do you think this is the way forward? And it was hard to explain at the time, but I had the vision in my head, and now the vision's come true because now I see a community, now I see people helping each other. I see a network of people up and down the country supporting and helping each other. You know, if, for example, you're in London and you've got a breeder up in Scotland and he sold an animal to someone who's 10 minutes away from you, he can then reach out to you and go, Tom, I've sold this snake to this guy. Do you know him? And you could reach back and go, yeah, I do actually. And you can network that way as well. And also, you know, that again, that different level of people. Some people on the Patreon have been in it over 10 years in the hobby. Some people have only just joined. So it's good to have all that sort of different levels. So seeing now seeing it come to fruition now is what I want to build and what we're building off. And that's what's important. Balls2U for me now is bigger than me. It's not me. I'm Gavin at Balls2U. Balls2U is bigger. It's an ethos. It's a movement. It's a community. It's bigger than me, and that's something that I'm quite proud about. And long may it rain.
And obviously, you know, the Balls2U Patreon has paved the way for the Balls2U show that's happening tomorrow. How did that come about? What was the reasoning behind that? Your want or your desire to start that up?
A couple of things was let's rewind a little bit. There was a few issues at the IHS show, and again, got nothing against the IHS, but there was a lot of things that I kind of didn't agree with. There was certain things that were being turned, things like animals just coming out of the egg being sold, animals that had mites and stuff like that, and because the breeders were just people behind a table, anyone, I mean, I can tell you now, I'll guarantee you, I can be truthfully honest, after every IHS show, I used to have a message off a random person going, hi Gav, I know you don't know me, but I brought this snake off this guy at the IHS show and it's dead. Or it's got mites, or it's blowing bubbles, or it's not eating. It was like a 2-3 week period after the IHS show, people would buy these animals off these people, and I'd be like, okay, I think you've got a problem. Go back to, you need to contact the breeder. I don't know who he was. Yeah. He didn't give me any details. And I was like, wow. So then we were getting a lot of issues behind that I was seeing. And I was reaching out to the IHS and sending emails that I've still got all of those emails and saying, look, we need to do something about this. We need to sort of police the breeders. And then the next thing, you know, they're coming out with banning the spider gene and the other mutations, like within the carpet python, and there was a gecko as well. And I was like, no, we've got deeper problems within the show than that. Admittingly, there are animals that shouldn't be displayed and shouldn't be sold, but we've got problems. And it was kind of just passed off. So then I wanted to wear the Balls2U brand and be loud and proud and say, look, if you buy a snake from me, you know it's from me.
Yeah, you
And
put
if
your
there's-
name to it almost.
Exactly. I'm held responsible for that animal. I'm not just some guy sat behind the table. And there was one guy there, I remember he had a Spark for sale. And the Spark at the time was quite decent money. And I said to him, well, how do you know that's a Spark and not a yellow belly? He went, well, my mate told me. I said, oh, I thought you bred this. And he went, no, he's over in Germany. I've been over in Ham and picked up some animals, and then I'm selling them on. And I was like, right. So now there's even more problems. So with the B2U BC, I always wanted and I said this to the guys at the IHS, why don't we do smaller shows, private events, where it's for breeders? So this is an open show to public. Anyone can walk in off the street, pay entrance, boom, they're in. And it was leaving us open to all sorts of problems. People filming, getting the wrong end of the stick, animals being kept in small tubs. No, that's just for probably show purposes or sale purposes. They don't live like that constantly. And so it was kind of brushed off again. Another good suggestion. They were looking for various other things, and I remember I used to get the the newsletters, and every newsletter seemed to be a bashing. We had so many people walk through the door. How come all of these aren't members? It was almost shouting at the members for these other people coming through the door that weren't members.
Yeah.
So there was just a lot of issues that I was just like, wow, this is bad. Like, this is bothering me. So for me, I always wanted to do a breeders show for the breeders. I remember going to one of the Chris Jones show, and that was good. Really enjoyed that. And then SWC set up a show which I embraced, and I was like, this is what we need to be. This is what we need. We need to have a breeders show for the breeders, or a breeders meeting for the breeders. And that's when it came sort of to fruition. There was a guy who reached out to me, a guy called Craig from Riley Histoff, and he was like, I'm looking to put together this show, this breeders meeting in the Midlands. Would you mind coming along to it? And I said, why don't you pop round and we'll have a chat, because he didn't live too far. And I said, actually, you've come at the right time, because I wanted to put together a show, a breeders meeting for the breeders. And I went through some ideas. He was bouncing off it, and I then sort of said to Craig, why don't you become part of the Balls2U team? And then Craig come on board, and it's just like with a team of people around me, the guys who helped me with the Discord, the guys who helped me behind the scenes here, and everything else that I tend to do. It was just the obvious way forward. So for me, it was just a no-brainer, just to get a UK show or meeting where we could pride ourselves in our displays, how we looked, animals being, not crammed into a small tub, snakes are oversized in a small deli cup. And we could really be, it could be somewhere where people could go to look at quality animals. People could exhibit their animals and go, oh, look, guys, I've got this Stranger project going on, or I've got this Dream School project, or whatever. We needed somewhere like that. And I just feel the bigger shows or the bigger meetings in the UK is sort of like a flea market, and it doesn't look good for us as a community, as a reptile community. So the B2U, B2U Breeders Club was something that was been in the pipeline. I never ever thought it would ever come true, but I couldn't have done it on my own. Like I said, the team have really been a massive part of that. And the community that have got behind it was mind-boggling. We did a live last night. I jumped on a live last night quickly on Instagram. Everything that's generated from the B2U meeting tomorrow is all going to charity. The live we did last night, just a real quick jump on, hey guys, we're going to do this, these are the times, this is that, we generated probably within 20 minutes, I think the live was, probably about close to £2,000 worth of donations for the charity.
Okay.
So I've always given to charity over the years, and I know this year everyone's struggling a bit for money, and I get that. But for me, that just shows how strong the community is and what they believe in, is that they want this meeting. They want to be part of a community that they can feel they can trust. We can bounce ideas off, we can talk, all that sort of stuff. And it's there. Everyone was going, the one guy, DJ Constrictors, Darren Edwards, he said, Gav, I'm going to put up a £200 gift voucher for the raffle. Wow, okay. Thanks, completely out of nowhere. Then all of a sudden, I was like, well, I'll best do £200 then, you know what I mean? And then, Andy Clubmore was like, well, I'll do £200. And then Tom at TBR was like, I'll do £200. And then John over at SJ Exotics, I'll do £200. And before you know it, there was these £200 and T-shirts and I'll give £100 and boom. And it just, and I was just like, wow. So the community are really much behind what we're trying to achieve, and I think that's the aim of the game, because it's for them. It's for everyone.
What's the long-term vision with the shows for you? Where do you see it in, say, 3 years' time, 5 years' time?
I'd like it to be, and I've said this before as a bit of a joke to people, I'd like it to be the Cannes Film Festival of shows or meetings, where people from international waters, from America, Europe, come to our little island, come to see quality animals, quality breeders. And because I do feel, and a lot of breeders will say, we kind of live in the shadows of America or Europe, but I kind of feel the opposite way. Yourself and other breeders, they've got some fantastic animals, and we're kind of living in their shadows. So I'd like it to be not a big meeting. I'd like it to be quality and kind of like the golden ticket opportunity. Oh, I've got a ticket for the B2U BC. Oh, wow. That's like the show to go to. You're going to look at fantastic animals, talk to people, meet up with breeders, do trades, whatever, and just be able to network and all of a sudden, God, those guys because we're classed as Europe. People over in the States, they go, oh, those guys in Europe. But obviously we're not technically in Europe, I suppose. So we're our own little country. So for me, I want it to be like the Cannes Film Festival, and everyone laughs at me when I say that, because that's like, Gav, that's high hopes, but I want it to be like that sort of, not massive, big, like thousands and thousands of people. I want it to be the place where breeders, whether it be ball python breeders, gecko breeders, tegu breeders, whatever, can just go there and meet up with quality breeders, and breeders can show off their projects and just amazing animals.
So what's your sort of hopes in terms of numbers and things like that from it? Because obviously those, it's going to start small, like the SWC did, a couple of hundred people through the door. Where do you want those numbers to sort of venture to?
You know what? I'd rather walk before we can run. I think that's important. I'm overwhelmed with how many people are coming tomorrow and the support we've got. To me, I'm happy just adding 200 every. Next year, we want to do 200 meetings. We want to do 3 meetings next year. So I'm happy with the progression of 100 people every meeting.
Yeah,
and that sort of growth. So again, it's not about. We are vetting everyone. That's the other thing. I've had a couple of people come through the B2U BC tier on the Patreon, and we've done a bit of research, and they're not who they say they are. So straight away they get declined and knocked back. Again, I have a duty of care to everyone on the B2U BC. So does the team. Can we stop everyone? No, but we'll give it a damn good try. So again, just looking after the B2U community, the B2U BC community and the Balls2U community, we try and vet everyone coming in and out of the Patreon, because it's not about the money. It's about making sure we've got the right people in the community.
So moving away from the shows, let's go back to the animals a little bit. Obviously, you've bought into the Bang project, and that's something you're pushing forward. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the Bang, a good friend of mine, Luke Mills, sent me some pictures of this Bang, and I was just blown away. It was called the Orange Bang at the time. Wasn't the best name, but it was what it was. But I looked at it, and all I saw was something that was so... in your face, you couldn't not say it wasn't a gene. You know, like sometimes yellow belly, asphalt, you look at it and you go, is it really yellow belly or is it really asphalt? You know, it's not really evident. It was evident that this was something, for me, different. A lot of people compared it to Orange Dream, but I just saw that it wasn't OD. The first thing that come across my mind was almost like it looked very banded, like an Enchi, but on a whole different colour scheme. I wouldn't have called it orange because it wasn't really orange in my opinion. It was more golds and yellows.
I think calling it orange also adds the obvious comparison, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. So I reached out to the breeder, Sterling Nelson in the States, great guy, great breeder. Spoke to him. I said, you know, look, me and my friend are really interested. You know, he sent me some pictures. What have you got? And he said, well, I've got these animals left. And because originally I thought I'd just get 1.1. I think he had 5 animals left. And after he sent me some pictures of combos, I knew straight away it was something completely different to what it would have been compared to.
Yeah.
Because you could just see the difference. So straight away, he said, I've got 5 animals left. I said, I'll have all 5. And he was like, really? I said, yeah. I said, how much? And he told me, fell off my chair, as you do. But I sat down, had a real good think about it. It wasn't an investment about getting money back. It was more of, this is something that is going under the radar, even in the States. We definitely ain't got it over here. I'd love to work with it and see what I can do. So long and hard and thought about it, you know, and I knew that whatever I hatched from it, predominantly I'd keep everything back because you want to grow that project. And the only way to grow it is to keep it and grow the combos up, so on and so forth. So, yeah, that's where it came from. And after seeing the combos, I was dead excited. Ozzy helped me get the animals from Sterling. Ozzy actually had my animals in his hands and went, Gav, he messaged me and he went, Gav, these ain't Orange Dreams. And I went, I know. And I've spoke to Ozzy in depth about it, and he was like, look, Gav, he said, for me, my thing is Orange Dream. He said, I'd love to invest in this. If I didn't have Orange Dream, I would invest in this. He said, but I'm already, you know, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And I said, yeah, totally get it. So, like I said, when Ozzy then had him in his hand, he was like, yeah, Gav, these ain't Orange Dream. These are something else. I went, I know. So Ozzy told Sterling that I'd be the right person in the UK to work with the project. And so me and Luke pulled the plunger, or I pulled the plunger. I just told Luke, mate, guess what I've just done? We've just got a shed load of animals, but we've got a shed load of money to pay out as well. So that was it then, and then got them over here, saw them for myself, blown away by the super. You saw the super, you can vouch it's not what it's been compared to, and so is everyone else who saw the super, you know. And it's hard to get across to people, and I understand why people would say it's the same as Orange Dream, but when you've got the person that's originated the Orange Dream and someone who's worked with both lines of Orange Dream, myself, it ain't Orange Dream. You can see.
Oh yeah, I think there is a clear distinction between certainly the super you can tell us, certainly not just a super Orange Dream.
Yeah. So obviously we made some combos. You saw those combos, and for me, I'm just really excited for the future. Luke over at Mills Pythons has just hatched some his first clutch of bangs, and they are bang het lavs, I believe, and he's just floored by them. So am I, you know, just floored by them. So really looking forward to the future.
What other projects are you excited about?
The redhead, I mentioned to you before, picked up a male from Rob Hurd, redhead yellow belly. Looking forward to working with that and putting that into the bang. And also doing some ultra male combos this season. I picked up off Ozzy a Super OD Posh Chocolate Het Ultra male. I could see chocolate in him because he's not like, I've made Super ODs before. I've seen Ozzy Super ODs. Ozzy wasn't sure, but when I saw him, I was like, he's got chocolate. He's got to have. The colour tones was just too chocolatey. Proved out to be chocolate. I hit the OD chocolate ultramel, and it blew my mind. It was mind bending, like the colours. It didn't make it, and I was very gutted that it didn't. There was only one animal that survived that clutch, which was an Orange Dream ultramel. But the chocolate Orange Dream ultramel is fantastic, so I'm looking forward to doing that again, repeating that project. Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. This year will be the first year I'm working with the Motley Granite stuff in the clown. Yeah, just genuinely that. Obviously, ultramel clowns. We're hoping to hit some ultramel clowns this season. Produce some more exantic clones. Yeah, just everything that I'm working with at the minute, Tom, kind of excites me.
Yeah.
It's just those few projects which take you to the next level.
You want to, you put your put your blessings on, really.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
If you could add 2 genes to the collection, what would they be?
So I really, I'm adding one tomorrow, which I've held off for a while, which is Stranger. I'm adding that because I'd like to see the Bang Stranger. By the time I'm picking up 2 Strangers, which are 100% het clowns. So I'd like to see the Bang Stranger clown. That would be interesting. So we pick that up tomorrow, but I don't know if there's anything out there at the moment that I've got to get that. Like, it's almost like some genes on their own aren't that appealing, but then you look at the combos and you think, wow, the combos are amazing. But then you've got to, like, for me, I look at stuff and I think, well, what can I do with just 2 genes? Is that gene going to react enough with that gene to make it something that's going to pop, or have I got to keep layering the genes? So there's a few bits. I wouldn't say anything recessive at the moment. I do like the Pixel that Justin's got. I looked into that last year, but I went towards the Bang stuff. The Pixel stuff's interesting, but I don't think there's much. Yeah, I don't think there's much I'd like to add, if that makes sense. It at the minute I've got everything that I want. There's nothing
to do what you want to do
there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing out there at the minute like that's screaming at me that I've got to go and invest in that. The last thing that was the redhead.
Yeah,
that was the thing that I saw and I was like, oh, redhead, Bang, yellow belly clowns. Yeah, we can do that. So that really. Yeah. So, yeah.
Has there been any genes you've worked with where you've been underwhelmed by the results? I thought maybe this isn't.
Yeah, the Lavender project back in the day, I was underwhelmed by it, which is why I got out of it. But then when I started to see Justin's Starburst stuff and seeing, because again it was Dream School, everyone was doing Dream School stuff, and Dream School stuff is great. Don't get me wrong, but you kind of get to that point where you go, show me something different.
Yeah.
And that's when I just didn't have the foresight for it. Justin did, and he did the Starburst stuff. So kind of I was underwhelmed by that project. Obviously, when I saw the Starburst stuff, it started to get me interested again. And then when I saw Garrett DeMeyer's Sugar Lavender, that then made me pull the trigger and get an Enchi Lavender female from Dan over at D&D. So I was underwhelmed by that in the beginning. Got back into that. Underwhelmed. I think there's a lot of genes out there that can be underwhelming. You've got to have the good examples.
You'll find a key to unlock them as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I think lace is here's the thing. Lace is a fantastic gene, but you've got to get the best example you can. Otherwise, a lot of people go, I don't know if that's lace or not.
Yeah.
And that will then put a negative on your project. In my head, that would go, God, I'm matching these things and I don't know if they're lace or not. Whereas if you picked up a lace that you could see the offspring were lace, and like I held off red stripe for a while because I looked at animals that were for sale that were red stripe and they didn't really look red stripe. So that's why I held off getting red stripe stuff. For me, you've got to get a good example. And then, because at the end of the day, if you're working with a project and you're going, oh, this is a lace, and someone looks at it and goes, it just looks like a normal, it's kind of underwhelming, the project. If you open the drawer and go, what's that? And I go, oh, it's just lace. And you go, holy crap. That's when you know you've got the right ingredients to carry on forward to start making something amazing, you know?
Yeah, I think it's, like we were saying earlier, you get good examples and bad examples of a gene, don't you? And it's, sometimes you've got to find that one extra gene that you layer onto something that makes that animal for you.
100%. I mean, Gene X isn't a very overwhelming gene on its own. You put yellow belly on top of that, it just amplifies yellow belly to another level.
Same with red stripe.
Yeah.
For me, I was kind of similar with you. I was reluctant with red stripe because of the good combos I'd seen were in the clown combos, and you put yellow belly into that red stripe and it goes absolutely crazy, and the colour palette changes, and it's. We was looking at some with Scott earlier at Scott's, and the colour on those red stripes phenomenal. He's getting all quiet in the background.
Yeah.
No, but talk.
No, you can't shut up.
Yeah.
Best two things about the hobby for you.
For me, is almost like being you and Scott. You and Scott. It's the ability to work with this species. It's like the colours and the patterns and that sort of thing, and also geeking out with like-minded people. You know, friends, networking, that sort of thing. I've met some amazing friends in this hobby, and a lot of them are over in the US. And you know, I've said this before on many interviews that if I land in the US, there's certain people I know I could call wherever they are in the US, and wherever I'm in the US, they'd drive to come and help me. You know, and that goes a long way. So for me, if I wasn't in this hobby, I probably wouldn't have met. Well, I obviously wouldn't have met them, and you wouldn't be able to call them friends. So the social side of things is fantastic.
Yeah.
And obviously being able to work with these amazing animals, like, you know, go to other people's collections and go, what, that's just that, and see amazing, simple but quality animals. You know, less is more sometimes. So
on the flip side, what's the worst things about the hobby for you?
Facebook.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's standard.
Yeah, Facebook. I think ultimately everyone's quick to shoot everyone down, and it's happened to a few breeders. They've shot people down, and then they've backtracked it, and then they've got shot down for shooting other people down. In, you know, don't never react on emotions.
Yeah.
You know, you can't react on emotions. Someone's peed you off. They've peed you off. Don't react on it today. Think about it. React on it tomorrow if you still feel that way.
Approach to it.
Yeah, 100%. You know, there's one or two people who I wouldn't hesitate to pull through the letterbox, you know, and if they fell off the hobby tomorrow, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's because of who they are and what they've done, because of their actions. I have no time for them now, and I just tend to shut people off. So the problem is when you're on Facebook, and that's why when a lot of people go on Facebook, it seems to be like, I don't want to say every time, but it seems to be there's always something negative kicking off on someone's post. Someone's slating this company, someone's slating that company, someone's slating this breeder, someone's kicking down someone else because they've asking about temperatures or substrate or something. You know, it seems to be very on the attack.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very good friends with JT over at ReptiChip. He's like a big brother to me. Like when we go over there, he hugs me. I'm in his chest. He's massive. He's like you. He's a monster.
He's a big boy.
But you know, he's never. When I stepped away from ReptiChip, you know, I made it clear to him. I spoke to him. I said, "Look, it's not you. You know, it's not you. I love your brand. I'll support you and your brand." So for me, I have to step away from people on that sort of negative train. You know, why go and attack someone if they're not hurting you? Just leave them be. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the negative stuff that stems from Facebook, and when you say to people, like when you speak to people and they go, "Oh, I've seen this on Facebook and so-and-so saying this," try coming off Facebook just for a week. Yeah. Just come off for a week, log out of it, delete the app, see how you feel.
The thing that annoys me with Facebook as well that people seem to forget is you can delete people.
Yeah.
Just delete them.
Yeah.
Don't see their shit anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And this is the one thing I say to people, like, you know, you haven't got to.
Scott, did you say you weren't allowed to make a noise?
He's talking with a Scottish accent.
It was my phone.
yeah, you can delete it and see how it makes you feel, and then you can work out actually these people or this page or this group is very negative and on the attack, so let's just delete them and step away. But I think a lot of people are worried about their followers or friends or whatever it is they have on Facebook. You know, like I said to you before, it's nice to have subscribers, but it's not my goal. My goal is to help people. So if that one video helps one person, that's fine.
What one thing, if you could change anything about the hobby the way it is, and it was going to help the hobby going forward for the next 10, 15 years, what do you think that one thing that you could change would be?
Delete Facebook permanently. I think if listen, we ain't all going to get on, and that's fine. And I don't expect it to be. Not everyone can get on, and I understand that. There's a lot of people where I'll have the time of day for and I'll talk to, but if I didn't see them for another 2 years, it wouldn't bother me. And yet, you know, when I see other people at the show, I like to make sure I go and say hello to them. How you doing, mate? You okay? Good. So it's really difficult to kind of say what I'd like to change, because, you know, the idea would be that we all get on. Reality is that ain't going to happen. And for me, a lot of people talk about divisions and factions and this. To me, there isn't. I don't have a division with anyone. I don't divide myself from everyone. It's a bit like what you said. You kind of delete them and kind of forget about them. So I don't. It's got to be Facebook. That's the one thing I think. And again, not to hate on Facebook, but it just seems to be there's a lot of negative that gets drawn from that. And then good people get dragged into the arguments, and then they become the attacker as well. Yeah. So it's like good people get dragged into other people's arguments, do you know?
I think just that whole sense of togetherness is probably needed much more in the community.
Yeah. And that, again, which is why, you know, there's people on the B2U BC who aren't on the Balls2U Patreon. And again, I want to reiterate that. Yes, it's on the Balls2U Patreon page, but the B2U BC is different from the Balls2U Patreon.
Yeah.
It's a different platform. It's the same platform, but it's a different tier. Yeah. It's something where, again, people can be part of a community. They've got their own little Discord. If they want to get on there and chat and talk, they can. But the Balls2U community is completely different from that. That doesn't mean I've factioned that part off or made a segregation. It's different levels what people want. Some people don't want to help people because they haven't got time. I get it. But they want to be part of maybe the B2U BC meetings, or they want to, you know, maybe network. Then they've got that option, you know. So, getting on would be great, but, you know, you're not going to get on with everyone, are you?
Yeah, I think sometimes people just need to take a more professional approach to things, don't they? You know, like you say, you don't have to get on with everyone, but if you don't get on with someone, you don't need to shout it from the rooftops most of the time.
Yeah, I think people always ask me, like, I won't say anything to you behind your back that I won't say to your face. And that's one thing with me, that I see a lot of screenshots from people in WhatsApp groups who go, Gav, look, I'm as much your friend as I am theirs, but look what they've said about you. Yeah. And then when I see that person at the meeting or at a show or at a barbecue, you know, they're tapping me, how you doing, Gav? You know, great to see you, da-da-da. And I know who they are. So for me, I'm like, you know, don't be that way. If you don't like me, don't speak to me.
Yeah.
You know,
or address the issue.
Yeah. If you've got a problem, come and address it. Because a lot of the times, like, I've had people say, oh, Gav never spoke to me at the show. Or, you know, I went to speak to him about something and he just fobbed me off. I never fob anyone off. I never ignore anyone. And then when I pull out the proof and I go, you mean this person that I've had a long conversation with on these messages? You know what I mean? Things get misstrued and all that sort of stuff. So there's no need to say that sort of thing, you know. But they're probably saying it to someone else who maybe doesn't like me. So I just think, you know, you've got to be yourself. You know, don't jump on the band train, you know.
Yeah, makes sense. So coming towards the end of it now, and start wrapping it up. As tradition, always closing question on the show. There's 4 spaces around the table for dinner. Mm-hmm. Who are you inviting, dead or alive?
Oh, okay. So definitely would be Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're talking ball python.
Anyone you want. Anyone from any walk of life.
Okay. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Definitely Michael Jackson. Prince would be an interesting figure to have some dinner with and chat stuff with. And one more. Probably dead or alive. Probably Donald Trump.
Why those four? How have they shaped you or your sort of life or whatever?
Well, my brother's 10 years older than me, so he got me into Prince. So unfortunately, I'm a bit of a Prince fan.
Favourite Prince song?
Okay, so mate, there's loads of them. I love all of them. So my favourite one, I do like, which not a lot of people know, is "Nothing Compares to You," which we know by Sinead
O'Connor.
But Prince actually wrote that, and he did that with Rosie Gaines, so that was a good song. Seen him in concert as well. That was a good concert.
So
anyway, yeah, it was a good concert. I've seen him in France. But anyway, Michael Jackson, because I've seen Chris Tucker do impressions of Michael. And I can just, every time I think of Michael Jackson, I think of Chris Tucker doing impressions. So Michael Jackson would be an interesting one to get on, just to see his mentality, see how he is, why he went from, why did he change so much? Because I think his best album, well, his change was from Off the Wall and On to Bad. The album
was like
Off the Wall.
70, 72, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But he hadn't changed per se, and then on the Bad album he completely changed, colour of his skin, all that sort of stuff, that sort of mindset, why that was all about. Who else? Donald Trump, because it'd be interesting I think he's a character, let's face it, he's a character. And when I was over in the US and you speak to a lot of Americans about Donald Trump, he's perceived over there completely different to how the media perceives him over here, which is really interesting. So it'd be interesting to sit down and speak to him. And who's the other one I said? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah. So Arnold, obviously, he catapulted a lot of the bodybuilding fitness industry. Obviously, I've been into that and I am into that. So for me, he's just an iconic guy. Just to sit down and listen to him mainly talk.
I think he's got some great stories.
Oh, dude,
his autobiography was 100%. One of my favourite reads that I've ever had.
Yeah, he's definitely a character, and hearing some of the stories. So I'm good friends with a lot of professional bodybuilders or ex-professional bodybuilders, and when you hear the stories they have when they've met him at the Arnold Classics and stuff like that, it's just a completely different side to him. There's a few others in there, but it'd be interesting. But I think those are the three that would really be interesting. Just sit there and listen to them, just interesting.
So that's the table sorted. What are you having for starters, main and dessert?
Starters has definitely got to be something like now you've asked me, and you've asked me while we're hungry as well, so everything's interesting.
Rumbling.
Yeah, and mine, oh God, we're going to smash some food in a minute. Something like I never have time for starters because it's always straight to the mains, but something simple like I don't know, prawn salad, like a prawn salad sort of a thing. Main probably have to be a good steak.
How do you have it cooked?
Medium to rare. Depends on the steak, to be honest with you. It depends on the steak, depends how I like it, but I like rare. My brother likes seen.
Literally blue and bleeding. Yeah. A good vet could bring that back to life.
Yeah, definitely. He likes seen, but I like rare to medium or medium to rare. And then pudding's got to be something like either like caramel sponge pudding with ice cream, something like that. Sweet tooth.
Sounds good. Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, where can you be found on social media?
If they don't know, obviously YouTube, Instagram, Vero. So those are the three platforms I tend to use.
And your Balls2U and all of those?
Yeah, Balls2U, obviously. You can hit me up there, DM me, whichever. Tend to get a lot of DMs through, obviously, Instagram, so that tends to be the main platform that people can reach me on.
And if people want to join the Balls2U Patreon, where can they find the details for that?
Very simple, just Google Balls2U Patreon, and it'll be there. Gavin's trying to build a trusted community, and he just says it there. Or obviously they can send me a DM and I can send them the link.
Perfect. There we go. So you heard it there. Balls2U, Instagram, Vero, Morph Market
YouTube,
as well.
Yeah, Morph
YouTube.
Market. Don't forget John Layman at Morph Market.
Yeah, go and follow him. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, or whatever on the YouTube if you haven't already. Not much else to say, so I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Thanks
No
for having
problem
me.
at all.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure.
Hi, this is Andy over at Club More Reptiles in Liverpool, sponsoring the Wolfies podcast. We've decided to sponsor the podcast because we massively believe in the reptile community and especially Royal Pythons. So if you're ever in the Liverpool area and you fancy popping in to say hi and having a brew, then come on over. Anyway, back to Wolfie on the podcast.
And there we have it. That is Gavin over at Balls2U. So yeah, like I said at the top of the show, the Balls2U Breeders Club meeting, absolutely fantastic. I'm sure most of you, or if not all of you, already follow Gav on social media anyway. So keep your eyes peeled on Instagram and YouTube and things to see what's coming up with the new shows, but also just to keep your eyes on what Gav's doing going forward as well. So before we sort of finish the podcast, it's a few things to mention. Obviously, it has been the first year going for the podcast, and it is, you know, the reception to it has absolutely blown me away. And none of this would have been possible without the sponsorship of a few people right at the beginning who, you know, put their faith in me, put their trust in me, and made all this happen. So a big thank you to the guys over at WildRex, Andy over at Club More Reptiles, and of course all the guys over at the Southwest Constrictors, who without any of their support and their vision for the podcast, none of this would have been possible. So thank you very much to you guys for all your support this year and taking a chance on me as well. Going into next year, there is going to be some new sponsors and also some returning sponsors as well. I'm not going to announce them yet. I think I'll leave it as a surprise so that, you know, people can see who it is when the first episode drops in January. It is going to carry on the same format for now. There may be a few extra bonus episodes along the way as well. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do that yet, but certainly it is going to happen. And definitely going to be an introduction of international breeders from the US and the EU too. And also, if you haven't already, get on over to my YouTube channel, that Wolfie Royals podcast. Go and check out the live stream, the live podcast we've done with the female breeders of the scene, the All Hot Chicks episode for the UK. It's had a really great reception so far on YouTube. It's up on my YouTube. It's also up on Snakes and the Fat Man's YouTube as well. So again, give that some support. Drop it a like, go give the channels follows, subscribe, whatever you need to do to make it happen. And yeah, other than that, I'm signing off for the year. This has been an absolute blast. I thank you all for your support. Thanks to all the guests that have been on throughout the series, all the new breeders, all the main breeders that have come on, given me great hospitality, spared their time, spent their time sitting down with me, and thank you very much. So for me and for 2022, that is me done. Peace.